Earlier this year on April 21st, the Nintendo Gameboy turned 30 years old. This little guy, with its compact design and adorable black, gray, and purple buttons, would go on to sell millions. While I can't seem to find any specifics, as both the Game Boy and Game Boy's Color total lifetime sales are usually tallied together, I can say that combined, they had a total of 118.69 million units sold. This means that I could say that the original Game Boy had sold 118.68 million units! Though I probably would be lying if I said that. The original Game Boy is a pretty great little system with many legendary titles such as Link's Awakening, Tetris, and Super Mario Land. It also functioned as the birthing pod for a forgotten Nintendo series known as Pokemon. Maybe you've heard of that before? Unfortunately, Nintendo put the handheld to rest in the year 2003, shortly after the release of the Game Boy Advance SP. The SP also was the handheld I never had, but all my friends did, and they all chose to rub its backlit screen and ability to play in the dark in my face non-stop. So in a way, I also was killed by the Game Boy Advance SP. In order to commemorate the special occasion, I have decided to talk about Squidlit, a game that was released 15 whole years after the system was discontinued. Why talk about a classic Game Boy game, or even a game actually on the system, when something that acts as a faithful homage to that handheld exists? It's time to get off that couch, crack those fingers, and warm up your Steam account, because it's cephalopod inking time on this episode of Gonzo Media. Squidlit was developed by the team Squidlit Inc., composed by members Alex Barrett and Samantha Davenport. The duo also goes by the name of Super Squidlit, therefore showing just how adamant and unoriginal they are in sticking to their brand. In a fun interview done by the guys over at Gamasutra, the devs revealed that Squidlit is their first ever game.
When Alex came up with the idea of creating our own video game, it seemed to make sense that we start, essentially, at the beginning with a console we know well and love. The first console Alex played was the Nintendo DMG Game Boy, so it was a natural choice.
They realized that even though we live in an age where many indie-developed games are made to invoke the nostalgia of old 8-bit games, it's very rare to actually find a game that actually follows the restrictions set by the hardware. I'm looking at you, Shovel Knight. Your beautiful colors and detailed sprites would never actually run on an NES. Seeing an open market, Alex and Samantha jumped at the opportunity to try and create a game that could realistically be ported to the Game Boy, with the exception of some of the more fluid animation that can be spotted at some points of the game. That iconic green-on-green aesthetic? Check. The teeny 160 by 144 resolution screen? Right in your face. An inability to display more than 10 sprites in a horizontal line? Might as well be labeled as a main feature. The game also features an accurate representation of the system's 4 sound channels, which Alex claims to have been one of the most challenging aspects about Squidlit's development. An example of what this means is when a sound effect uses one of the channels dedicated to the music. The music on that channel will stop playing for as long as that sound effect is activated. If I never knew about this game, and somebody showed me a clip of it, I would definitely think it was a game designed back in the 90s. I give the team so much credit for being able to create something so faithful. The game follows the adventures of the adorable Plip in her quest to defeat the God Emperor Squid-Scoot. Squid-Squat? Squid-Scoot. Despite the terror evoked by the title of God Emperor, most of the game actually is really pleasant and adorable. All of the Squidlits, the race Plip belongs to, are adorable octopus people that wear hats that would fit into everyone's favorite hat simulator, Team Fortress 2.
How am I gonna stop some big mean Mother Hubbard from tearing me a structurally superfluous new behind? The answer? Use a gun. And if that don't work, use more gun.
Your health is even visualized as the 3 muffins located at the top of the screen, and every time you take damage, a bite is taken from a muffin. I really appreciate it when developers put effort into putting charming little aspects like that into their games. You also have a button that makes Plip do a smile and wink towards the camera. It gives off a quick sound effect when you press it, and it is very cute. I honestly would just hit that button in random locations just so I could look cute in different backgrounds, since having a cute character do cute things makes for good visuals. It reminds me a lot of the hug button that was featured in the Boy and His Blob reimagining that hit the Wii back in 2009. More games need feel-good actions like that. The enemies in the game are the only thing that are not cute in Squidlit, and I'm not entirely sure if that's intentional or not. The limited available pixels are not exactly kind to a lot of the smaller enemies, and with the limited color palette available, a lot of the enemies look like mashed muddy monstrosities. Hey, that would be a pretty awesome name for a band! Mashed Muddy Monstrosities! You learn the names for the enemies once you get to the end credits and get to the game's rogue gallery. This means you have winners such as Untsnail, Wallop Polyp, Sharkerpillar, Isopoly, Phantom, and Incaridi.
Recently, we compared two superheroes, Dashing Super Guy and Kirby from Nintendo. In some ways, Kirby lost big. No big hair, no big muscles, no weapons, nothing. All Kirby's got is appetite. Kirby's Dream Land, the thrilling adventure game on Game Boy. Kirby munches, spits back, and floats, saving glorious Dreamland. He's Kirby, and he packs a mean bite. Kirby's Dream Land, only on Game Boy.
If you have ever played Kirby's Dream Land, then Squidlit will be very familiar to you. Squidlit Inc. was very open on how Dreamland was a very big influence on them. They even quoted famous game developer Masahiro Sakurai in his idea for the original Kirby game to be able to be played with only one button. Besides being able to move and, well, be cute, Plip only has one action. You can use the action button to jump, and if you push that action button again mid-jump, you will activate Plip's Ink attack. This is the only way to defeat enemies, which means that you have to have decent precision in timing when you jump over and attack enemies.
Attack its weak point for massive damage.
In the beginning of the game, enemies are slow or sedimentary, which means inking them is very simple. However, as the game continues and enemies start to move faster, hitting enemies can get pretty challenging. To the point where in the final level I kept on fudging jumps and ended up taking a ton of damage because I couldn't ink the weird worm creatures charging me. Regaining health is very simple, as health muffins are generously spread out in the levels. This does cause me to worry about the implications created by this, however. For every time I go on an adventure and find wild nature cupcakes, bad things happen. Don't eat feral pastries, kids. One aspect of the game that I never expected was dialogue choices. At several points of the game when talking to certain characters, you are actually given the chance to choose what you say, which leads to some interesting, and if you play games like me, cute scenarios. People who play a lot of modern games might not find this feature to be exciting, but for someone like me who grew up playing Game Boy games, you never had dialogue trees. This was an amazing way for the developers to take a modern spin on their retro throwback game. It also means that your choices have more consequences than a Telltale game. Rest in peace. Squidlit is a short game. A really short game. There are only 4 different levels, each with only last about 5 or 10 minutes. The length of this episode alone is almost 1/2 of the total time it would take to beat the game. While this may be a deal breaker to some, I feel like this allows for the game mechanics to never grow stale. The 4 bosses in the game also do a pretty good job at changing the pace, as they all involve a variation to the gameplay. The first boss, a giant sharkafly, a common garden pest, is a good example of this. The boss fight is completely played out as a shmup and is the only time this type of gameplay is present within the game. It was also slightly before this fight that I realized the cute button also makes Squidlit NPCs be cute as well. Why can't more games have cute things? Considering its measly $2 asking price, I don't really see a reason not to pick up Squidlit. It's a short game, yes, but it's the same cost of a coffee a lot of you caffeine junkies guzzle down, and it is a way more fulfilling experience. It's a cute experience from beginning to end, and it does an amazing job at bringing back an earlier, more innocent age of gaming. The Squidlit Inc. team is also in the process of creating sequel, Super Squidlit, and I am very excited for it. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And remember, don't eat feral pastries.